can be done.
It can be done. Don't whine and cry to me, because I'm not going to listen to it.
How are we?
We're good. So you can just look at them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Recording.
Alrighty. So I guess just to get started, I mean, what's the relationship between the police department and the Neighborhood Watch program, and kind of what does the department feel that Neighborhood Watch plays in keeping communities safe?
Well, the Bowling Green Police Department is very close to the Neighborhood Watch program, being Karen Foley, who works for the city.
Yep.
She has easy access to the police department, which makes her job a little bit easier and our job a little bit easier as well. Police officers attend all of the Neighborhood Watch meetings in various forms and various ranks as well. We like to address the problems that people are having in their neighborhoods. One, because we want to do whatever we can do to attempt to curb it, curtail it, stop it, whatever role we can take in preventing or catching criminals. It's such a good relationship too that we have with them, because if she needs something, she calls us. If we need something, we call her. She keeps us up with any other problems, because since she's the Neighborhood Watch coordinator, people will call her, email her, and let her know of problems that they're having in between Neighborhood Watch meetings or in between community events that a lot of people are gathered together. So they keep in close contact with her. That can also help us with keeping up with trends, new things that are going on, and old problems that we're having too. On sometimes when we get an old problem solved, it's nice to hear that, hey, we were instrumental in that and we're able to stop it.
Okay. Can you talk about some of the problems that the Neighborhood Watch programs has helped you either become aware of or keep on top of?
Well, one thing that what we like to do, if we see a trend that's happening in a local area, in a neighborhood, we like to try to find people that are a part of the Neighborhood Watch program and get the word out to them, because we know that they have easy access to a lot of people in a neighborhood. It's more convenient that way, and also word travels faster that way for us. If we're having a problem with car break-ins, or we're having a problem with burglaries, or we're having a problem with vandalism, graffiti, things like that, we're able to alert the neighborhood people and just say, look, we're having a problem with this. We've noticed a spike in this, and it's in your area, and we'd really like for you to tell your people just to be on high alert and watch for anything that's suspicious, anything that's out of the ordinary, to call us, let us know, we'll come over there. It also helps us to make them aware that they need to report the incidents to the police. Instead of something happening and they say, well, it's not that big of a deal, I won't report it, we like to let them know. We want to know about it, even though there may not be a whole lot we can do about it. We may not be able to catch the people that did whatever the crime is, but we still like to know about it, because when there's a trend and there's a spike in problems, such an influx all of a sudden, we can focus our attention and our resources on that in an attempt to catch the people, or at least curb it.
Do you notice that you're able to do a better job of catching trends in neighborhoods that have Neighborhood Watch programs as opposed to not having them? Or, I mean, how big of a difference do you think having them, that kind of program, has?
Well, I don't know that we necessarily notice a trend more often, except for the fact that they're more aware that they need to report it. Because the city being broken down in 8 districts, that's how we sort of put stats to our crimes, is through the different districts. So we will notice a trend in one district over another district, or a type of a crime that's in one particular area, part of town, that may cover more than one district. And those are things that most neighborhood groups are not going to be aware of. They'll be aware of the ones that are happening in their neighborhood, but not so much in any of the other neighborhoods unless they talk together. What we like to view it as, it's just a convenience for both them and us that opens the lines of communication. They're interested in what we're doing. We're interested in what they're doing. We need their involvement. They need our involvement. So it's really just a relationship that we like to build on, and we like to foster to try to help solve their problems in their neighborhood.
Yeah, and I mean, it came out talking to Karen Foley yesterday, that a lot of the relationship and the communication, is important, especially that way that neighborhood residents have a police officer a lot of the times who then they'll have a number for and they can call and they can talk to. Are there some neighborhoods that the police department wishes, did have a neighborhood watch program and you've tried to ask Karen to start one there, or do they more just spring up organically and then you work with them?
We're really not designed to try to get them started. We make suggestions to people to say, hey, if a new neighborhood comes in, you guys may want to get together and see if you can do a neighborhood watch. And we sort of leave it up to them because we don't want to push people to do things they don't want to do. But certainly if they develop one, we certainly want to work with them. And we enjoy that, and it's a benefit to the entire community, not just to that neighborhood. So Karen just does such a great job. She works with them very closely. She's very interested in what they're doing. She keeps up with what they're doing, and attending the meetings is always beneficial. You talked about the having one particular officer. That's one of the benefits of having the city broken down into districts and an officer working the same district every day. That way they get to know people. That officer goes to the neighborhood watch meeting. They get to see who their officer is, and then they know who they can call. They know who's going to be responding when they pick up the phone and call the police. And that way they can stop them on the side of the road and say, how's this going? What's going on? Anything new? Or here's what we're working on. So you guys are well aware when you see more police presence in your neighborhood.
One of the things that was evident both from talking to Karen and at the meeting last night is that a lot of the program here, it's more passive. It's getting to know your neighbors, but then just keeping an eye out. There's not, any patrolling, any, going out and really, trying to take to the streets or anything like that. Have there been some neighborhoods that have tried to or wanted to do something more active, or is that something that you've not really seen?
No, we've really not seen that, and I think that one of the things that you really need to have a successful neighborhood watch program is good common sense, and we seem to have a lot of that in the neighborhood programs that we have here. We certainly don't want people trying to be the police because it could cause problems, safety issues for them, and then cause us more concern when we're responding or we're trying to determine exactly what's going on, and we have more people involved than what really need to be involved. So we certainly discourage it when we're talking with people on the phone. Just be a good witness, to watch, to look, to see whatever it is that you can see, and then give us that information, but we certainly don't want them involved.
What's been like the most type of crime?
I would guess there's probably three, and they vary from one neighborhood to the other neighborhood. So some neighborhoods will have a problem with car break-ins, which we just came through a trend of heavy car break-ins. One particular type of crime, they're not breaking windows, or they are breaking windows, whatever their MO is, that was oftentimes we take those and say, okay, this group is not breaking the window, so we think that these may be all the same people. And it's one particular neighborhood or two particular neighborhoods that are close together, so we'll focus on that. So we can ask the neighborhood watch programs there to say, here's what we believe is going on, and from the reports that we've taken in your area, all the evidence that we can gather is pointing us to a couple of different people. We just need to figure out who those people are. So another area may be riddled with graffiti, and they having people spray painting their buildings, their garages, their houses, their whatever, fences, things like that. So we'll go with them and we'll try to determine, we'll take pictures and try to determine who is actually doing the graffiti through investigative means here. So we work closely with them. Anytime you see any particular graffiti, we certainly want to know about it, we want to report it, we want to take photographs of it. And even if it's on the back of your outbuilding and you don't think it's any big deal and you can just wash it off, we still want to know about it because it helps develop a case from the standpoint of being a misdemeanor or a felony, and that way you can get reimbursed for damages that are done to your property. Then you may have another area that that is having a lot of trouble with burglaries. And we certainly want people to be very well aware of that, because we don't, you know, it's one thing to have your home burglarized, but it's another thing to be there when your home's burglarized. So we want people to be aware of that. And then we also give them tips on things that they can do to not become a victim. So that's something that helps us get the word out faster, dealing with and working with neighborhood watch programs.
So what percentage are the reports that come from neighborhood watch organizations versus like just regular?
Well, we don't break them down like that. So if you call and say, sorry. We don't break them down like that. If you say, you call the police and say someone's broken into my house, we don't necessarily pry into your information to say, are you part of a neighborhood watch program? But we know neighborhoods that are very active and neighborhoods that are somewhat active, and then some neighborhoods that aren't very active. But we just collect all of that information and we break it down by district. And then when we go to the neighborhood watch program, they're very well aware of it. So we go to the neighborhood watch meeting and they tell us, hey, we seem to have a trend in burglaries here, and we'll say, yes, you do. And here's what we're doing to try to stop that. Here's what you need to tell your people to do. So they don't tell us when they will mention it, but it's not relevant to the report.
One of the things going to the meeting last night that surprised me, maybe it's because I've lived in Minneapolis for a number of years where I went to school, is that apparently one of the big crime waves, I don't know if crime wave,
right.
But one of the more common occurrences that's been happening around here is fishing, where teens will go and break into open cars or unlock cars and just take random things for the thrill of it. Is it that common around here for people to just not lock their cars? I mean, is it, because it does, Bowling Green does have a small town feel. I mean, do people, still think a lot of the times that, it is that safe that they don't need to lock their cars? Yeah,
believe it or not, it is. And quite honestly, 15 years ago, you could drive down to Main Street and leave your keys in your car and no one would ever bother it. But times have changed in mass media and communication. They're seeing that other trends that are happening in other towns, and teenagers oftentimes will watch videos of things that they deem to be cool, and so they go out and try them as well here.
Yep.
And so that's changed the trend in our community as well as nationwide. So I would suspect that anymore you're not safe leaving your car unlocked anywhere, and I certainly wouldn't recommend that people do that. Do I do it? Sure, and there's lots of people that still do it, but I don't come to Bowling Green and do it. I live out in the county and a relatively remote area, so I'm not so concerned about it there as I would be coming into town.
Have you heard of the fishing as a trend like outside of Bowling Green too? Have you heard of it from other cities or counties?
Not really, just what I read in the news. I read things in the news and I realize this is a lot like what's happening here, and I don't know where they're getting it. I mean, I don't know if it's a music artist, if it's a video game, what's causing it. If boredom, I think, is a whole lot of it, and lack of parental participation. But that's an opinion that I'm entitled to, but not necessarily allowed to give. But it is my opinion. But I'm not sure where it comes from, what causes it. Is it an East Coast that comes to here? Is it a West Coast that comes to here, north or south? I really, I don't know.
So since you guys are divided into districts, are there like specifically trained like community liaison officers at each district to deal with the neighborhood watch organizations? And if there are, do they receive special training?
Well, we don't receive any special training because we look at it as really just need people skills. So in our hiring process, we find those people. And when you're put into the position that this is your district, you go to the neighborhood watch meetings. We like people that like to go to the meetings. We like people that want to go to the meetings and want to talk to the members of their district. And it's easy to see that a lot of our officers like to do that they like to be involved, and they don't really mind going to the meetings, and they want to know what's happening, what the trends are in the neighborhoods, and they like to have good, healthy discussions on how do you think we can stop this, what do you think the problems are, who do you think this could be, and realistically the citizens like to sort of play detective too, and in most cases that's not bad. It's but with the right officer, which we have a lot of, it makes it a lot easier, and the communication flows a lot easier.
Yeah, it's the the district sergeants usually, is that the right role of the officers who usually go to those meetings?
Yeah, the district officers will go. Oftentimes the district sergeants will go, and then sometimes more than not, the captain of the shift will also go to a lot of those meetings if they're able to break away and go. You don't want to tie up all your resources at one particular meeting, but if it's a slower night than usual, then a lot of people will try to go to the meeting. The district sergeants like to keep in touch with what's going on in their district because they have the authorization from our administration that if they have a problem, that they can focus resources on that problem without having to go through a lot of red tape. So it makes it really nice for our department to be able to take action, which makes it a lot faster, can solve the problem a lot faster and a lot better for the neighborhood.
Yeah, no, that was it seemed to be the case last night where the officer who was there was able to say, yep, I can, put resources to this problem after.
Yes, it's really nice. We don't have any hoops that we have to jump through in order to be able to do that. We can really at street level go to our sergeant and say, here's what the problem is I'm having in my district, and here's what I think we need to do to try to curb this or to try to catch the people. And more times than not, they just give you the green light and tell you to take care of whatever you need to take care of.
So would you say you centralize your officers into like one location, or you would decentralize them?
That's a good. Bowling Green's a big city, but it's not that big. So we have officers that cross district lines. So you go help another officer. We don't. So most of the time we only have one officer in a district, or we'll have a couple of districts that have two officers, but not every single district has two officers. So you do have to cross over the lines. You have the freedom to go wherever you need to go to take care of a problem you need to take care of. So if the adjoining district of mine is having an issue, then I may help them on that, because communication between those two officers, you can suddenly realize, I've got the same problem in my district. Let's work together on this, and maybe to make it go away faster.
To kind of backtrack, you said that citizens like to play detective or whatever. Where do you guys draw the line?
Well, when they're talking to our communications folks on the phone, our communication, our dispatchers, they're trained to tell people don't get involved. If you can at all stay out of whatever's happening, if you don't go out there and hold people down, or that, because we don't want people getting hurt. And they'll tell them, don't follow in the car, just to say, we just don't want you to get hurt in that. So we really would. They can still do whatever they want to do, as long as it's legal, but we try to discourage them from any instance that's going to get them hurt. So I'd say if we drew the line somewhere, it would be at the point where you are no longer observing and you're becoming involved in it, you're participating. So that's where we would have to say, you don't need to do that. We just don't want people getting hurt.
Especially in regards to the Trayvon Martin case,
right.
The neighborhood watch organization member, took the initiative to carry weapons.
Right. Yeah. Right. We certainly discourage all of that. However, it's the state of Kentucky, and constitutionally, if you're allowed to carry a weapon, then you're allowed to carry a weapon. Obviously, we would like to know that you have one when we come up, so that you don't become a suspect or a victim of some sort, and we don't get hurt, certainly, too. We're going to handle a situation where there's a weapon involved differently than we are if there's not one.
I have one last question. Just, I'm going to, when you answer, to look at them so we don't have to look at the camera. How would you basically describe, like, very briefly, what you see as neighborhood watch? What is neighborhood watch?
To me, neighborhood watch is exactly that, watching the neighborhood. This is where you live, and you take an interest in keeping your area safe, clean, free of crime to the best that you possibly can. And to me, neighborhood watch is just that you're watching, and that you are not becoming involved in it, that you're being a good witness, that you're taking down good information for dispatchers, because if a crime happens, usually it's going to happen pretty quick, and there's a good possibility that we're not going to get there before the crime is over. So if you have a tag number, we certainly want that. If you have descriptions of the people, we certainly want that. If you know who the person is, we certainly want to know that too, or watch where they go. I think it's just so important to be able to work with the police, to know who we are, we know who you are, and that can make things run a lot smoother. The communication is an amazing thing. It's something that everybody struggles with, and it's something that really is so easy because all you have to do is open your mouth or write it down or whatever that it takes to communicate information from you to us. But I think it is just it's you watching the neighborhood, and that you know what's going on. You know when your neighbors are out of town. You know what cars belong where. We oftentimes will get called to a vehicle that's parked in front of someone's residence, been there 4 or 5 days, and it's reported stolen. Well, how does that happen? Why do you not notice that there's a car there that's out of the ordinary? That you know who drives what car, you know, give or take, what time they're coming home, what time they're leaving, and if they are out of town, they're asking you to go over there and get their newspapers, get their mail, or turn lights on and off in their house to just keep the whole area safe and free from crime.
Just to follow up on that then, when you first started talking about it, it was really more about what to do, like when you see something happening, stay out of the way, generally keep your eye out. With that, that's really more for, it seems more like it's kind of like basic training for like what to do in terms of you're in a situation, or if you see something, basically call 911, all that. If it's something where it's more informative, where it's an opportunity for the police to talk to people who live here, the residents, how come, wouldn't it be better just for everyone to have it, for, you know, there'd be some city organization to go around and just organize communities, just hand out flyers, so that every year everyone's learning this information rather than waiting for like one person in the neighborhood to get everyone together?
Well, one thing that you have to look at is the cost effectiveness of it versus the benefit, and it's easier on the taxpayers instead of you having to pay for us to do all the printing and things like that, that you guys organize it yourselves, because more importantly, you know who's going to be active in your neighborhood versus us sending out 40,000 flyers. You know that you're going to have 15 in your neighborhood that are going to be active. So your percentage of success is a lot better than our percentage of success, because we don't know who the people are that are interested in either forming the group, being involved in the group, or participating in the group. And oftentimes the cost is so much better for them to do it than it is for us to do it. Plus, with Karen being involved in it, she can do some things that help offset the cost of that as well. You have all the phone numbers. A lot of times we'll recommend to neighborhood groups that they develop a phone tree, that this person calls this person, that person calls the other person, and that way the word travels very quickly on when there's going to be a meeting, or hey, we're having a problem in the neighborhood. It's more effective that way than if you wait on a government agency to do that for you. Can it be done? Sure, it can be done. We can do that just as easy as the next government agency, but we like to look at the effectability of it, and think that it's much more successful with them doing the program than if we're pushing it on people too. We want you to be involved because you want to be involved, not because we're telling you to be involved. So I think it kind of goes hand in hand with what our goals are and what their goals are.
All right.
you so
too.
much.
All right. Can you just quickly say just like your name and then the
Yep.
position here?
Ronnie Ward, RONNIEWARD, and I'm the Public Information Officer with the Bowling Green Police Department.
Great, thank you.
All right.
And what's your rank, by the way?
I am an advanced police officer, APO, but officer is fine.
Okay.